welcome to my channel. My name is Adrienne of Jarrett Digital. I'm a short website designer, and this channel is all about web design and marketing tips. So one of the key things that I think is important for a really effective website that converts your ideal clients into customers is copy. So copy is the words that you see on the page. There is definitely an art to writing copy, and it's not my expertise, so I decided to bring in Dawn from Soul Copy. She is going to have a chat with us and explain a little bit more about copywriting, why it's important, how we can improve our copywriting skills, and how do we actually connect with a copywriter as well. So without further ado, let's jump into that interview. Thank you so much for coming, Dawn. To get started, would you like to just tell us a little bit about yourself and your business and just what do you do?
Yeah. Hey, everyone. My name is Dawn, and I'm a conversion and launch copywriter at Soulful Copy. So my main goal is to write human-centric and high-converting copy through psychology, storytelling, and also a very soulful approach with research. So my method of copywriting, it's a lot of collecting the customers' data. So like how they are describing their pains, how are they talking about their problems, and relate your message to in their language. So this is what I do, and I absolutely love what I'm doing because not only your message is important to tell to everyone, but it also needs to be conveyed in a way that resonates with your clients, and that's where the psychology and research comes in. And I'm not about that salesy marketing tactics. I am not like that at all. And that's why I do a very storytelling and sell with a empathy that really in a supportive way that tells your clients that, hey, it's okay that you experience these kind of things and here's the solution and we are here to help.
I love that. I love that you tie a lot of psychology and things into it. That's really fun. It's copywriting, I think. So web design, there's like 4 really key components to a website. And one of them, potentially most important one as well, is copy. Then, of course, like having nice photographs, and then the actual design to sort of tie it all together, but you don't really notice design particularly. And then obviously like your branding and your offers and everything as well. So I think it's really, copy and taking that psychological approach is a really, really important sort of like the UX of copy. It sounds like you kind of do.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you actually take on brought up about the design, because I do think that design and copy work together, like weave in together. So like both of them are equally important, because if you have a crappy design, no one's going to want to read the copy. But if your copy, it's not resonating, then the page is not converting.
100%. Yeah. And also just from the design aspect, like you could have the most amazing copy but if you've just got it in like one big long sort of paragraph and then nobody reads it, then nobody's going to know how amazing it is. And like, so that's definitely a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So why do you think, you've sort of touched on a little bit, but why is copy so important for businesses and to get right?
Right.
Yeah.
So like I mentioned before, because we are conveying our message in a standpoint that this is important to us. So this is the message that you want to tell to your clients. But at the same time, it's not necessary how your customers or your clients describe the pain points or the struggles. For example, if I'm trying to do yoga, do a handstand, I don't know, like I'm not going to type in do a handstand in ABCD way. I'm going to go on to Google and search how can I do handstand in 30 days, that kind of thing. So if you are a yoga teacher and want to teach people how to do handstand, you want to speak and communicate in the language in your customer voice. So what they are saying, how they are describing their problems, and relate your message in their language. And this is why having a copywriting is so important, because it's not only using your customer voice, but it's also utilizing the psychology part and storytelling with all these components to make it very persuasive and ethological, and also authentic way to relate your message, so that your customers or reader reading on your page feel like, oh my God, I feel you. I feel like you understand me, understand my pain points, understand my problems. You are the person who can help me with the problem. So I'm going to going to work with you. I'm going to buy your program, buy your course. Mm-hmm. And so copywriting, it's like combining the art of language and also playing with the science of data. That's why I like to tell it. So this is why copywriting is important for every business.
Yeah. So you really like connecting with the person and they're like, oh my God, like, how did you know? You just read my mind, basically. This is the perfect person for me, rather than it coming from you explaining why it's important, if that makes sense, like from a business standpoint. You're really wanting to like step into someone else's shoes, the customer's shoes.
Absolutely.
And use copy to do that. Cool. So because a lot of the people watching this are like yoga teachers. We talked a little bit about yoga, but also sort of health and wellness, sustainable industries. How does copywriting for those kinds of industries differ from sort of like standard business industries or other industries? This is a lot of like the bro marketing and all of that kind of thing as well, which won't resonate with anyone who's watching.
Yeah, that's actually a really great question, because for different businesses, there are different tones. And for your brand specifically, especially for yoga and wellness industry, they tend to be very philosophical and like have long cadence. And this is why within the copywriting, your brand voice is going to shine through, and it's going to be making the difference in the industry. And it's like telling your story in your way that makes sense to your client. And it's also using different vocabularies. So like whether it's a easier to understand for beginners kind of vocabulary, or you're targeting to a more advanced yogis, then you would use a more advanced yoga term for those people, right? So for how is it different from different industry? I would say it's how you use your vocabularies and what is the tone like. Are you a more philosophical type of person that, write long sentences, or you're more like the short form type of person? Like I say things in short chunks, and I don't like long sentences. Or you saying things super fast, which I don't think like a lot of yoga teachers are that way, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. I guess maybe like a really high power Harper type is probably maybe more a bit like snappier than a soft, long philosophical yin class, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. So in summary, I do think that there are like the language wise, it's different in terms of like how do you describe the vocabulary, and like how advanced or beginner, like there's a range how difficult or how easy it is to understand the vocabs. Because like compared to yoga, I feel like it's in the middle. But then if you're talking about the software businesses, it's like very complicated, using like difficult jargon that like no one understands unless they're in that industry. So I think there's not much of a difference unless you're talking to like just vocabulary wise, and also like how long the sentences is.
Cool. Yeah, that's interesting. It's sort of thinking about how you're going to write it. How do you relate? Again, what you said earlier, it's all about relating back to your ideal client and authentically with your voice. So there was another question I wanted to ask you about, and I did actually see you talking about it on your Instagram, which is what started this question, and that is AI. And AI is getting much more popular, and I think it's definitely going to like explode a lot more this year as well for using on your copywriting as well, and a lot of business. For anyone that's watching that doesn't know what I'm talking about, this is like online software that are run by artificial intelligence computer programs, and they will write copy for you, and you just put in some keywords and they will spit out some copy. can be very useless. I've had sort of like useful, sorry, I've had hit and miss. I've played with them a little bit last year, and I think they can generate some really interesting stuff. But for me, I am a writer, so I found that it actually didn't save me time because of the amount of editing that was involved in it, and rather than just having this thing come out. So, where do you think that going forward, AI tools fit into businesses, and how can people use them effectively to actually save time, and where should they use them and where shouldn't they use them, and how should they use them?
I think that's a tricky question because like
it's a loaded question.
I think, yeah, it's very loaded.
Sorry.
No, I think like as a copywriter, I'm not against with AI because I believe that AI can never replace a human being to input the copy. Because if you don't know how to write good copy and you just input whatever keywords in there, it's going to spit out like not so good copy that's maybe converting, but you know it's not going to convert because like it's not good. But if you know and you have the skills of writing good copy as a person, knowing how to relate to the customer, you know what kind of words to put in there, and obviously the AI is going to spit out better copy. But I think that as a business owner who can't afford a copywriter right now, obviously it's a really good way to use AI to just spit out really quick and easy, dirty copy for you. Say like you miss a content for a day, sure, you can go onto AI and just like, spit out content. But for a long term, I don't think it's going to replace human at all, because like human is still going to be that intelligent being who can write with emotions, with unique perspective, and also like emotions and stories that you never heard of. And I think that that's the reason why AI can replace copywriter. And then moving to the second point of like where can we use it and how can we use it, is that for me, especially as a copywriter, sometimes I hit like writer blocks, and sometimes I get super afraid to just stare at that blank page. And so like sometimes I would go on to like AI or Jasper or Chat GPT, is that what you call it? To just like get some ideas. So just to put words onto the page so it doesn't look as intimidating. And having that, it's like my heart can finally feel relieved, and I can let that creativity flow, and I can start using my own knowledge of copywriting. So like, copywriting formulas or like storytelling formulas, and write copy that actually resonates with people. And using AI helps me get over that hump of like, I don't know what to write, even though I'm a copywriter. Sometimes I still need that inspiration of juices to like, okay, this is where I can start that writing and then improve upon it using my own knowledge, using my experience, using that psychology and the feedback from my client.
I like that. So kind of using it for like outlines maybe, and inspiration and research, I suppose. That's one thing I've heard as well.
Yeah. There are a lot of like good frameworks that they have. And I do think that is a really good starting point if you don't have any resources to like, invest in a copywriter yet.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned like all of the different tools and like copywriting sort of formulas that you've learned. Would you consider yourself a natural writer originally, and that sort of knew these things naturally, or how much sort of learning of writing copy is involved? Like someone's not natural writer, can they kind of learn some of the ways to sort of write and connect?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So here's the thing. I was born and raised in Hong Kong. And so like English was not my first language. Even though I learned English since kindergarten, I still have that like imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. And I do write like novels when I was a kid and like call it, I'm a writer because I wrote a book, quote unquote. But I do think that like copywriting, it's a different language. It's a different skills that you have to master. And so even if your first language is not English, or even if you are a writer, that like for your entire life or not, it's still a skill to learn and it takes time to practice. So don't be so hard on yourself, because like sometimes like the copy that you write or see is gonna break your English teacher's heart. It's like all the grammar Drew can throw out to the window
Yeah.
and like, have dots and, all these like little grammar rules that you won't do at school. So I do think that like anyone can write copy and anyone can learn the skills if you take time to practice and master the skill.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, copywriting in itself is a very specific skill. That's not something that I have mastered yet, but I'll happily like write blog posts and like, because it's just a different way of relating and writing what you're thinking. Like blogs, just writing what you're thinking down and then with some research, and then copywriting is really that skill of getting into the other person's mind and speaking from their point of view. It's impressive.
Yeah.
Always impressive skill. So for anyone that isn't at the stage yet where they can afford to like hire a copywriter, do you have any tips for them writing, or are there any services that you know of that are sort of like memberships or anything like that that can help them get started getting better copy in their business?
Right. So I would say there are 4 essential steps if you want to get like familiar with copywriting yourself. Number 1, it's get inside of your customer's head. So like doing surveys, interviews, actively listening to what your clients are saying, and like even just like recording the transcript, you're going to find a lot of ways that they're expressing the issue in their words. And that's a really good way to start collecting data and start to understand what they're saying. And then the second thing is just write. There are like a lot of formulas out there. And on top of my head, I can give you like 2 most common and most useful copywriting formula. The number 1, it's AIDA. It's attention, interest, desire, action. So like using that framework in every post, in every even sales page copy can really bring your clients into a journey, bring them from not aware of what they are experiencing or their problems to problem aware, and then product aware, and then solution aware. And so like they can finally, okay, I need to click on the button and buy that program now. So that's a really good formula to use. And then the second formula, it's PAS, PAS. So it's problem, agitation, and solution. And it's very similar too. And it's talking about like how your client is experiencing the problem, how like the little daily things, tasks, it's also nudging them of the problem, and then the solution, how you present the solution. So those 2 are like really, really cornerstone of copywriting formula that you can use right now. And then the third part is to using your brand voice. So as we all know, brand voice is absolutely key when we want to stand out, because the market is saturated. And it's not necessary to say that, to scare you. It's just one way to position ourselves in a different way to shine the spotlight on us, right? So having a strong brand voice overlay the copy, it's going to give it personality, give it more fun, give it more flavor. And then the final thing is to do tests. So like you can do A/B testing. So like a test to 2 different web page, see which one does better. Or you can do like 5-second tests. So like screenshot some like your page and let some random person know like, hey, what do you think? What's the one big idea that you got? So that's like help you understand, is your message clear? Is your message accurate? And helps give you feedback to improve on your own copy. So I would say like those are the important tools I've learned along the way. And some of the like membership or courses that I've learned is like Copy Posse or Joanna Webb's, Webb. I think that's how you say your last name. Both of them are like, copywriter, top marketer, and I love them, their method. It's very ethical and also like highly driven by data and psychology.
Thank you. Those were awesome tips. Going back to brand voice, how does someone find their brand voice?
I think there are two approaches for this. Like one, is it a personal brand that you're thinking about? Or the second option is like you're creating a brand new brand that it's not based off of your personality. So if we are going to your brand personal brand, you want to think about how you usually say things, how fast you're saying things, what kind of vocabulary do you use, what kind of phrases do you use, and you start collecting all those data and listen to your like own intuition too. I think that's like the most important part, because sometimes we're just afraid to let our voice to be heard. So really just like allow yourself and record all the things that you've been saying, what type of topic you love to talk about, and just start collecting those. And I feel like that it's your brand voice right there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like going back to how long or short the sentences is, the tempo, the tone. Are you funny? Are you casual? Are you like really serious? I don't like, that kind of thing. And then for like a business brand kind of thing, is one thing that I do with my clients is to find their customer archetype and also brand archetype and marry them together to find your voice. So that it's like going back to the psychology, which is based on Carl Jung, the 16 archetype, which you can totally Google search that. And what I do is to identify that archetype and then find your place from there, and to identify how do you want your brand to be seen and what kind of values that your customer are going to relate to. So I would start from there if you are creating a business type of brand that you want to draw a different type of audience.
I love that. And I love that you said that going back into your intuition as well. And that made me think of yoga speaking. That's like a lot of your heart, like throat chakra work, and like really allowing yourself to say what you need to say. And I think that's really beautiful for the personal brand as well. Cool. So for someone that's like, this sounds very important. I understand why I need to do all of this, but I'm just not like, there's so much learning because it's a whole industry in its own thing. It's a huge thing. I'd rather pay someone to do it. What should they look for when they're trying to find a copywriter that is really going to mesh with them and mesh with their business and really be able to speak their own voice, especially if you're running like a personal brand and then it's not like it's not you, someone else is speaking kind of for you in a way. How do they find that person?
Well, first thing first, look for their values. If the copywriter's values aligned with yours, because usually their values are going to be on the about page. And if you resonate with them, I would say it's a really good sign that you guys would click, because we don't want terrible clients, and you don't want terrible copywriters who's going to write your project too.
Definitely goes both ways with that.
Absolutely. So I would say like find a copywriter that you really click with, really resonate with their story, especially with their copywriting approach. And how is that approach going to be different compared to other copywriters? And how are they going to care for your project? And like what is the whole experience going to look like? I think that's also going to be important. And then the second thing is also like checking out their work, either in portfolio or ask for a custom samples that you can be sure that this is the person that you want to work with. I have a lot of clients come see my past work and they absolutely love it, or just through referral. That's also one way to like know that the copywriter is well known, or like at least you can trust, or that copywriter can be trusted. So all in all, I think it's like, if you resonate with that copywriter because of the method or the story or the value, that's a really good sign that should just book a call and see like if that clicks. If not, there's no hard feelings, right?
Yeah, cool. I think that's great advice. Thank you. So, thank you so much for talking. Where can everybody come and find you? And you have a podcast, I believe, and where can they connect with you further?
Yeah, so I have my Instagram called Soulful Copy by Dawn and my website at soulfulcopy.com. And also I have my podcast, which I probably should upload it more often, but it's called Dawn's Philosophy. And you can find copywriting, marketing, and branding tips on there.
Cool. Yay. Thank you. I really appreciate you coming and talking with us today. I think there's been some really useful tips that people will take out of it. And I will have all of the links to all of your socials and website and stuff in the description for everyone as well. Cool.
Perfect. Thank you for having me.
No worries. It was a pleasure. I hope you really enjoyed this interview and got so much great information. Definitely go check out Dawn. She has got some great value that she can give you on her Instagram or any of her services. Really psychology-driven copy, which as we now know is quite vital. If you have any questions, please pop them in the comments below. We always love getting your questions, and either myself or Dawn can jump in and answer them for you. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notifications to get notified when we have more content coming out. For now, have a beautiful day and we'll see you next time.